It is the 25th anniversary of AGBT, Advances in Genome Biology and Technology, in Marco Island, Florida. And Gen's deputy editor, Julianna LeMieux, has accepted the tough assignment of covering this week's genomics and multiomics festivities. Hi, Julianna. It looks a little cloudy where you are.
Hi, Kevin. It is. It's been a really tough day because there's a little bit of cloud cover here.
I'm devastated for you, but I'm sure the show must go on, and I know you've been
Yeah.
there about 24 hours now. So hopefully this is the first of, I think, three daily reports you're going to file. So we're eager to hear what's been happening in the first 24 hours.
Yeah, Kevin. Also, I should mention, just in case that didn't seem tough, I'm coming to you from the balcony of my hotel room. So, it's classic. I will say being back on Marco Island is so terrific. It's the 25th anniversary, as you said, and everything feels really right. And not only that, but the news that's coming out of the meeting is so exciting. And so, I feel like I know it's been not even 24 hours, but we're off to a great start. Um,
You said before you flew out that it was like 2022 all over again.
yeah. Yeah. Well, yeah, in 20, I mean, there were a couple of years there, right, where there were just a ton of new launches. And actually, one difference this year, I will say, so back then in 2022, or in previous years, we would come and then you'd find out all the news, right? So there was like really that excitement. It's a little different this year because at least two big announcements, and actually, no, I mean, some companies have been releasing news all last week, but some of the two biggest announcements were Roche's technology announcement about what they're putting into their new sequencing instrument, the Expandimer technology,
Mhm.
and then another announcement made by Illumina that they are announced will be launching a spatial technology. So both of those were made last week. Both of those I already wrote the stories. So I'm like, and there's still a lot going on. But we all got that under our belt, and now it kind of whetted our appetite for learning more and digging deeper into each of these products
Yeah.
and many, many more. There's a lot more going on in there as well.
Well, I mentioned the 25th anniversary of the conference. Also, later this year, the 25th anniversary of that famous White House moment, the 25th anniversary of the first declaration, or you could say, of the Human Genome Project. And I understand there was a special presidential welcome for you and the other 1,000 delegates yesterday.
Yeah. So in the opening session, which was terrific last night, they played a video and it was a message from President Bill Clinton. And of course, he spent a little bit of time kind of recalling how exciting that moment was during his presidency. And he said it was I think he said it was the best money I spent during my presidency. But he just had a lot of really positive messages that this work is so important. He said, I can't wait I was thrilled by what happened back then when I was the president. I can't wait to see what happens next. And so he said to everyone, just keep going. And he said, keep up the good work. So it was a really nice, positive
Yeah,
tribute to the work going on by all the people in that room.
yeah, nice, nice. So, what were some of the other highlights of the opening session? And then I know there's some company news that you're eager to spill as well.
Yeah, so David Altshuler was the first speaker in the opening session last night, and he's always terrific. And he spoke a little bit about one interesting aspect of it was his career choice to leave. What he was saying, the easy path was not to leave a tenured professor position at the Broad, right? That would have been the easy, just to stay would have been easy. But he
Yeah.
took this road to go into drug development as the CSO of Vertex. Because he really wanted to translate what he was doing to help patients. And so, so inspiring. And then he talked about the three drugs, basically, three kind of categories of drugs: cystic fibrosis, small molecules, the Casgevy genome editing, and also their new pain medication. And so, in 30 minutes, he covered a lot of ground. In Vertex's, they don't have one modality, they don't have one target. They're really just like, they choose all of their programs a little bit differently, but how it's really worked for them. And it was really super impressive.
Yeah, it is. Mhm.
Yeah. So
Any
that
other speakers stand out from the opening session or today, in fact?
my first meeting of the morning was with Bruker. with Joe Beecham and Mark Munch. And so that was a terrific way to start the day. You know, obviously Joe Beecham is there because Bruker acquired NanoString last year. And we had an interview with Mark Munch about that move. And that was in the fall of last year, and about kind of why Bruker acquired NanoString and what their plans are for going forward in spatial and their kind of post-genomics work. And so that was really great. Bruker is very excited about they have many different spatial platforms at the moment. They have the Canopy Cellscape, which is proteomics based, but Joe talked also about the geomics and the cosmics as well. And then there's actually another platform that they have, which a year ago would have been called Acuity, but now it's called, I think it's Paintscape. And this is a technology that was developed in the lab of Ting Wu at Harvard. And that technology, you know, is now acquired by Bruker, and it's oligo-Fiseq, and they can map chromosomes and look at like the 3D. Actually, the 3D genome is something that I've heard. I think it's, you know, kind of a buzzword here, but it's something that's kind of coming up as maybe, you know, one of the next areas of omics research. So, but
would you say they are trying to mount a sort of direct competition to 10x, or is this is that an apples and oranges comparison?
oh, with the Paintscape, you mean?
Well, just with Bruker's strategy in the multi-omics spatial space in general.
Well, there is definitely some clash there. And I will say, you know, in December, there was an injunction put on the GeoMx, old NanoString's GeoMx product. So Bruker is fighting that and appealing that at the moment. You know, we'll see what happens, but there, you know, I will say, like, just in all aspects of spatial and single cell, there's a lot of competition here.
Yeah.
And litigation. Yeah.
And litigation, of course. Yeah.
Yeah.
What about Illumina? What's new with them?
Oh my gosh, I just got out of the Illumina lunch talk, and there is a lot going on there. So I also was able to sit down with Steve Bernard, who was the fourth employee at Illumina. He's been there I think he told me 27 years.
Wow.
So he's the CTO. And I asked him actually why the gold sponsorship for Illumina? And he said, you know, this really is a moment for Illumina. And he's not just saying that, like, it really feels like it is. It feels like Illumina, with their huge push into multi-omics and announcing, so last fall at ASHG, it would have been single cell and proteomics. Here, they're announcing spatial. And what Steve was saying is that for the first time, one company, Illumina, has all of these modalities in the same company. And that is like the inflection point that they're marking at this moment. Now, I do want to make it clear, not all of these are commercially available. Certainly the spatial won't be available until 2026, also with some of their other technologies as well. But they've been announced, they're in early access, you know, they're being worked on, and so they're coming. And so that is really Illumina's message here. And I think, I mean, it seems like they are really like walking that walk, as you know, as I see it. Yeah.
And Pixelgen, I think, was another company that's caught your eye early on.
Yes, so Pixelgen, so the CEO of Pixelgen is Simon Fredrickson, and you may remember him, Kevin, because he was a speaker on our summit last year. So his company, Pixelgen, does spatial proteomics. And they're a young company. They've only been around like 3 or maybe 4 years. And so what they do is they look at where proteins are on the outsides of single cells. Okay, but it's an NGS readout. So, you know, it's not imaging. It's an NGS readout where proteins are on the outsides of cells. And what he's talking about here at the meeting is actually a proteomic interactome. So not just where those proteins are, but how the location change of those proteins is going to change the other proteins that they're interacting with. And this is typically done on immune cells, but they can do it on like cancer cells and other cells as well. So they have their panel's 155 proteins. So any cell that has those proteins, you can do this on. And the thing about Simon, though, that I'm not sure everybody knows, is that he was part of the group that founded Olink 20 years ago. So he's like one of the original founders of Olink. And, you know, I asked him, because not spatial proteomic interactomes is not really something that it's a little, it's not like something everybody's talking about. It's kind of new. It's new. And I asked him, and he was saying, like, well, yeah. And I said 20 years ago, proteomics was going to be big, and kind of like, look at where we are now. So I feel like he has this vision for the future of like what could be really important. And it seems like what he's saying right now is protein interactomes. So I think we should listen.
You make a very compelling case. Okay. Well, what's on tap this afternoon? What are you looking forward to over the next 24 hours?
So one talk is at 4:30. Okay, so at the Illumina lunch talk, you know, Illumina talks about their own products and then they bring in speakers.
Yeah.
And one of the speakers that they brought in was Stephen Kingsmore. You know, Stephen Kingsmore, he does the very fast genotyping at Rady's Children's Hospital in the newborns. But then he said, well, I'm going to be talking at 4:30 about kind of a case study of a boy named Connor Dalby and using an ASO, an antisense oligonucleotide, to treat his rare genetic disorder. And the name, I instantly remembered the name. I wrote an article in 2021 about Connor Dalby because I was writing about the NLORM Foundation and the work that they're doing in rare disease. So he has updates on Connor Dalby, this young boy that I cannot wait to hear now.
Yeah. Well,
You know, I wrote that article a long time ago, and they were just really starting out this process at that time. So I absolutely cannot wait to hear what Stephen Kingsmore has to say about that case.
all right. Which you will share with us and everyone watching this time tomorrow.
And then also I should mention tomorrow is going to be another big day. So some of the big news I already mentioned that was, you know, teased last week is the Roche instrument or sequencing instrument.
Yeah.
So they have their silver talk tomorrow. And also Ultima will be giving their silver sponsor talk at lunch tomorrow as well. And so both of those are going to be really just more big news. So I think that, you know, what you can see, like how I started this out saying, it's really jam-packed this year with exciting new technologies.
Yeah.
And we haven't even talked about single cell. So we can do that another day. But more going on there. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I know you're waiting to kind of listen and watch Ultima's presentation. They put out a press release, I think it was early this morning, about the $80 genomes. So, you know, we always take these things in. Well, we need to have our top omics reporter kind of vet this up close. So we look forward to getting your take on that and more on Roche and so
know
much
how
more.
I feel about putting a number on a genome, Kevin.
Yes.
Well, with a grain of salt, with a grain of salt.
That's exactly what I was going to say. All right, Julianna, listen, lots more talks and reporting ahead of you. So thanks so much for this first installment, filing live from AGBT at Marco Island, Florida. And we look forward to catching up with you tomorrow.
Okay, thanks, Kevin. Talk to you
All
tomorrow.
right.
Okay.
Thanks, Julianna. Take care. Bye-bye.